Hello, everyone. Welcome to the TopCyberPro podcast. I'm founder and CEO Jim West. Got a wonderful guest today. We have Chris, and Chris has got a lot of hats he wears. In fact, he's wearing a hat right now. But one of the hats he's wearing, he is founder and CEO of Barcode Security. He's a podcaster. He's a filmmaker. There's almost nothing this guy can't do. And another facet of his life, he's also a hacker pen tester. There's a little couple other hats there he wears. We're going to talk about a lot of other businesses he's a co-founder of. But without further ado, we have Chris. Welcome to the podcast.
Jim, the best West. Thank you so much for having me on. It's an honor to finally join you on your platform, buddy.
You know, Chris, we've often attended like the same circles of conferences and events, and it's like our ships just pass in the night. But we're going to get together in one of these future conferences, I'm pretty sure of. But we do have a common friend to kind of get out the way because, as a filmmaker, you have a great documentary out there. Lynn No, who is the world's first transhuman, and folks, let me clarify the transhuman part to not be confused with a sexual orientation. Transhuman is he has, I believe, 11 technology implants. He might have 12 by now. I know he was talking about getting a drive installed in his body, but he's got 11, at least 11 technology implants in his body. Things like in the palm of his hand where he can open up certain doors. He can hack things with his body just about. And you did a documentary, so just to kind of upfront get this out the way, tell us about the documentary and the why behind the documentary.
Yeah, thanks, man. Len is a great dude, man. And to my knowledge, he has 11, unless he's got a 12th that I'm unaware of. But I know what he has in mind for the 12th, so super excited about that. But the whole premise behind the documentary was I had just come off doing my first documentary called Inhuman, which was all about the weaponization of AI. And my documentaries and my content that I put out in terms of film is really meant for the mass audiences. It's supposed to be born from within the security industry, but really meant to educate those outside of the security industry. So I was looking for my next project, and I had an idea of what I wanted to do, but I wasn't real sure. And this was right around the time of Black Hat 2024, I guess it would have been. And I was meeting up with Len. We were talking about a couple other things. I had an event that night. So I was like, hey, man, let's get together. You want to come to the event? He was like, yeah, this is the first time I've met him face to face. And so I did my barcode event in Vegas and got to talking to him afterwards. This is right when he was promoting his book. He was telling me about that. And I got to really meet him as a person as well. So
Mhm.
he has this amazing story of physical transformation, but he also has this amazing story of life transformation as
Yeah.
well. And I thought that story itself was one that needed to be told. And so I think it was either that night, I believe it was that night or early the next morning into the early hours of the next day. But I said, hey man, do you want to be the subject of my next documentary? Didn't take me long to realize that, this was the one I wanted to do. He was like he's on board. It was important for both he and I to work on it together. It was a story that was going to get told regardless. He had
Yeah.
his book, and I just knew it was a matter of time before a film director came to him and said, look man, let's do it. But I think he appreciated the fact that I was in cyber. We're going to tell this with the truth behind it. And he trusted me. So yeah, I think the next day we went to work. We got it filmed pretty quickly. I think in 6 or 7 months, we had everything filmed.
Wow.
Um, we had everything edited in about the next 4 to 5 months. I spent some nights in Dallas with my editor. Shout out Kevin Pentecost. And so, yeah, I think we were ready by the next Black Hat. I guess that would have been last year, 2025, where we did the premiere.
Mhm.
So between Black Hat 2024, Black Hat 25, we had this project done. And again, it's really about a parallel of transformation, right? The physical and then the life transformation as well. So it was very well received. I was proud of it. Len was proud of it, most importantly. And yeah, and now I'm looking to do my next one. I sort of love doing filmmaking. I went to school for film early on, so I think that's sort of embedded in my bloodline. And
Mhm.
so now just bringing the cyber stories that should be heard to a mainstream audience and trying to do it in a very cinematic and staying true to the industry.
Well, folks, the document is called "I Am Machine," and we're going to have
Yes.
links to the trailer in the description below. I don't believe the full documentary is anywhere for free online, is it?
Not yet. So we've been making our way through premieres at Hacker Halted, at DEF CON, at some of the conferences. And then we also have been entered into some film festivals, which we've been fortunate enough
Awesome.
to have. So nothing publicly available yet. We're kind of waiting for that film circuit to finish, which I think is coming up in next month. So hopefully next month you'll start to see some links on where you can view it. Where we were pushing for some streaming services. We're still in the talks with
Okay.
Netflix and Paramount. So hopefully we'll land somewhere like
Hey,
that.
get on the Netflix, right? That's where everybody else gets on, right? But
Yeah.
folks, we'll have the trailer, the link to the trailer. So check out the trailer and support this documentary because one, Lynn is an amazing human being, right? Him kind of leading that forefront of technology, the convergence of technology and what it is to be human. And it's a great documentary. In fact, it's a surprising documentary. I saw it at Hacker Halted in Atlanta last year, and the fact that there's his family members that are part of it. It's like almost a family documentary. I don't want to give up too much of the story away, but it is worth your time to watch, folks. So please support this film, support indie filmmaking because without it, you're not going to have the fresh, new perspectives and voices. We complain about the reimagining of franchises and them keep rebooting Spider-Man for like the 20th time. But if you want fresh, original ideas, it starts with supporting indie filmmakers. So, folks, support the trailer, and when it comes out on streaming service, start streaming it and watching it. So come out and support this film. All right, we're going to come back to content creation in a minute, but I want to talk about barcode security. So let's talk barcode security. What do you do with barcode security? I mean, one, it's a damn cool name. I mean, barcode security, right? So tell me about the why and what does barcode security do?
Yeah, so the name barcode actually started from a podcast or my podcast that I started back in early 2020. I think we're at the height of the pandemic. I wanted to start a podcast, and I went to my employer at the time, which was a VAR slash reseller, and I said, content creation, man, we got to get on. We got to get on it. Everybody's doing content creation. Let me run a podcast for you. Um, and they didn't like that idea. I guess that wasn't the direction they were trying to go,
They had
but
no
I was
vision.
going, yeah, no vision. I was going that direction, so it was going to happen. And so they knew that I started it really just part time, right, on the weekends, half-hour interviews. But the timing was very important because during COVID, as terrible of a time that it was for everyone, it allowed me to gain access to thought leaders and individuals that I typically would not have access to because they were out
Right
public
on.
speaking, because they were working. And so I did take advantage of the accessibility factor and got some really big names really early on because I was able to do that. And people were willing to talk. And so the name barcode kind of was spawned out of the idea of we're at a bar and we're talking code. Like
Okay.
I didn't want to come in and do something really corporate because I think during COVID, we missed the DEF CON after parties. We missed the meetups. We missed the congregation in a non-formal setting. And I wanted to virtualize that. And so I said, what more appropriate than being at a bar or a lounge or something where there's no pressure, right? So it was a no pressure, high value conversation. And that's the approach that I took. And that's why I named it Barcode. So yeah, the name started out as Barcode, ran as a podcast, still running as the podcast for over, I guess, 6 years now, which is crazy. Um, I started and had 6 episodes in my set. If I get through 6 episodes, I'm okay to hang it up. But I really enjoyed it because I got to learn from industry leaders. I got to teach others, and I got to give guests their platform. So it was a
Mhm.
three-way win for everyone involved. So I did the podcast for about 2 years, still in parallel to my full-time job, which was consulting, strategic advisory, pen testing, and I decided to, after 2 years, take a leap of faith and start my own firm, and that own firm became Barcode. So I leveraged sort of the credibility, the following, the even some of the guests that I've worked with on the podcast to become part of this Barcode entity that was now split between media and services. The media was really driving services. That was,
Hmm.
I think, the driver for a lot of the services. And as you know, having a podcast, having a facing industry, you do have a level of instant credibility. You know,
Hmm.
people feel like they know who you are, they know what you're capable of, and again, that sort of helped with establishing that business. So, ran that for about 3 years. Still running services by way of proxy, but really started refocusing about a year ago on live events for the podcast, doing more film, doing more content, and helping others establish their brand by helping them and consulting with them on content creation and building their own brand podcast and things like that. So getting away less from the services, although I have partners that I can leverage for that, and being more focused on live events and content creation now as the Barco brand has kind of evolved to.
Wonderful. So I don't want to ask the obvious question because most people say, "What was your most favorite guest?" But that kind of puts you in the corner of having to pick and choose all your guests. What I'll ask instead is, what has been some of your more interesting guests and some of the things you've learned from some of your guests across, 6 years? You've had to got a lot of good insight. I know myself, I'm always learning from my guests as well. So first part of the question is, what has been some of your most interesting guests? So you're not picking favorites. And then two, what has been some of the unique perspectives or things you've learned across 6 years of doing the podcast?
Yeah, it's a great question, man. I'll give you two answers to the guests. So I would say the most shocking person that said yes to being on an interview was Troy Hunt. Um, he was my second guest. So
Wow.
I interviewed a friend of mine for episode one, and I just thought that's how it was going to be. And then I reached out to Troy Hunt. Um, we all know who Troy Hunt is. I was like, hey, man, I just started a podcast. I'm not even expecting a reply from you, but if you would be so gracious to come on and chat with me for 45 minutes, it would be an honor. And he got back and he was like, give me the day and time, and I'm there. And I was like,
Wow.
awesome, man. So that was like, I think after episode two, when I was like, all right, I got to extend this beyond six now. I can't have six episodes when I'm,
It's
riding
like
high
a
like this.
limited Netflix series. There's got to be more.
There's got to be more. Um, and I was just ecstatic. And then I think the most interesting guest I probably had on, it was episode 53. It was a gentleman by the name of Gummo, and I had saw Gummo on a web series called Soft White Underbelly, so I knew who he was. Um, Very unique story. I'm not going to go into the entire story. You can listen to the episode on that.
We'll have to link in the
But what
description.
made it really unique was um, he doesn't do interviews. He doesn't do interviews. So having someone that doesn't do interviews come on my show and be able to talk about his hacker origin story and where and how he got to today with a lot of emotion involved. There's a lot of things that happened in his life that really put that human element into the story. Um, and that's sort of I learned a lot from that episode because moving forward, it became more than just cyber to me. It became more about the human element, and your story on how you got to where you are today and what drives you as a person and what struggles you overcame. Because I think I want someone to listen to the podcast and get the technical aspect from it, but also get to know the people one on one and be able to relate to them on a human level. So that was really a pivoting episode for me. And Yeah, just an overall emotional episode. And those are really hard to find sometimes.
You
So
mentioned something about the human element. I mean, that at the end of the day is what I really love. Like some of my agenda questions, like the day one story, people paying homage to people that had a positive impact in their career question. Those questions are geared to so that people watching can see that we're not just, rock stars or unicorns of security or like level 99. We're human beings at the end of the day. We eat, breathe, we bleed. We're
yeah.
just regular humans that have regular human problems and so on and so forth. And your story that you were sharing there about Gummo kind of reminded me of one of my episodes from a season ago where I had this guy that was he was an Iranian that lives in Canada now, but he was part of the development team by CSI Linux. His name is Irfan Tigzan. And during the interview, I had no idea of how that day one question story was going to go. But he started sharing about how when he was a university student in Tehran, how their buses were old and so forth, and one of the buses caught fire, killing a lot of the students, and his best friend was on that bus. So out of that
Wow.
tragedy, the students started protesting at the college campus, and you know how protest goes with that government. They started shutting it down. So he still wanted to protest and spread information about what was going on in university. So then he started having to go underground with it, right? And so he had to learn hacking tools because he wasn't always a hacker. He had to learn the tools. He had to build and code VPNs to get through
Wow.
government surveillance and to stay a step ahead of all the government monitoring and surveillance trying to crack down on people that spoke against the government. So he learned cyber out of survival necessity. And I'm listening to this as we were recording, and I'm just floored by it. Like for me, we take for granted VPNs. Like you mentioned, COVID, everybody had to work from home and remote work, and VPNs was just by default how our new office culture was, right? But hearing it through the lens of someone that had to use a VPN and make one of his own, because it wasn't like he could download it because they heavily filter and monitor what goes on the internet. He was sharing a story out of tragedy, how he went into cyber through tragedy, and now he's one of the top OSINT guys in the world, and he's a brilliant young gentleman and just phenomenal story. But like you said, that human story is everything, right? Because we all just didn't wake up with the knowledge we weren't gifted with anything other than
Right.
we love to tinker, we have a curious mind, and we love to figure things out, right? That's really the essence of the hacker mindset is just to figure stuff out. So.
Yeah,
With that
absolutely.
being said, I want to talk a little bit about your content creation. So I know as a podcaster, but now as a filmmaker, what is the genesis of like the creation process for you? Because different people have different, like we could talk about what is your typical day or operations or things you have to do to get into that creative mindset. Let's start there.
Mhm.
Do you have a favorite drink you do? Is there like do you have to like tell people, hey, I'm going to lock myself in this room for a few hours? What is your what kind of things you have to do to prepare for content creation?
Yeah, man, that's a great question as well. I think it just, for me, the inspiration hits randomly. Like, I don't think that there's a mindset that I need to put myself in to try to come up with ideas. I think it could be spawned out of a conversation I'm having with someone at lunch. It could be me at home at 1 a.m. in the morning watching Netflix, and I see something on Netflix and I'm like, hey,
All
this is
right.
how I could relate that story to cyber. And then you just kind of go down this path and like play it out in your mind. Is this something that is viable in pursuing, or should I stop now? Because you know I get a lot of ideas and I execute on some of them and not all of them, because it's like, has it been done before? How can I do it differently? Um, and you kind of got to walk yourself
Hmm.
through that immediately before you put pen to paper, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, you kind of got a chess move at 20 moves ahead
Exactly.
before you
Exactly.
actually do the 20 moves. So
Yeah.
I
But now
completely
what I
get it.
will say to you is the hardest part of that for a lot of people is that move number one, right? You have to move that first chess piece in order to win the game. And I've come a long way to figure that out. And there was times when I would hesitate or I procrastinate. And there's so many people with great ideas that you have to take that first step, and you'll surprise yourself, because once
Hmm.
you get going, it's like, at least for me, and I know for you as well, once you get going, more ideas come. You don't have to have everything planned out, on that first night. Like, as you get going, your thoughts are going to evolve, your project's going to evolve. Um and that's the journey of it, and that's the fun part of it, is
Hmm.
just watching your vision play out in reality. So that's it for me. It's nothing specific. And selfishly, I try to have conversations, or I do film and things that interest me. I'm trying not to ride the trends. Like, if I see a trend, that's cool, awesome. But if I meet someone at a conference, or I have again, if I'm reading a book and I see a line, it's like, oh man, I could go down this rabbit hole. Um, I did a talk about a year ago called Mind Game, where I was doing the parallels between mentalism and security. And I was like, man, there's so many parallels there. We've mentioned it in passing in a lot of conversations, but let's really go down that route and see how these two intertwine. So, um, again, my inspiration comes from different places, but try to do something that really interests me, because at the end of the day, that's really where your passion is going to come through, is if you yourself are genuinely bought into the content you're creating.
You know, a lot of folks when they like I'm an author, and so a lot of folks like, oh, I had an idea for a book or an idea, and the ideas, everybody's got the ideas, but you have to start learning how to execute. And what you said about moving that first piece, I tell people, start writing everything you can get out your head down to paper or down into a word processor. Just get everything out of your head, and it's just like putting clay on, whether it's in a Word document or on a paper. Just dump the clay out. You can
Yeah.
always remove clay, add different, you can add clay, then you can shape it once it's out. And that's the thing, that's the hardest thing, because we can fall victim of like analysis paralysis is a big one, where we keep over analyzing, like, oh, that doesn't sound good. Just get it out there. You can always tweak it, refine it. And then if you get too frustrated, you can just save it and just come back to revisit another time, because a lot of folks think that they got to get it all right out the jump. That's not the case. My best book series, the Magic and Mathematica series, took me over, I think it was 14 years before I finally wrote it. I started with a few chapters and I couldn't. I had all these crutches and excuses I gave myself, but then, I won't go into the long story, but it took 14 years before I finally executed that first book. And I tell you, since then, my execution's gotten better and better. It's just like anything you do. The more you do it, the more you repeat and you refine your processes, you get better at it, folks. It's like you're not expected to just jump on the bike when you're like, 5, 6 years old and just start riding the bike. You got to start with some training wheels, maybe a tricycle, and then you graduate up to the different bikes, and then just you got to start somewhere. So,
And that
listen,
makes make that product so special at the end, right? Is you value it more than anyone. And I think that's the most important, because that gives you the drive to do the next project.
yes.
But yeah, very well said.
Speaking of projects and other businesses and things that you've worked on and created as a co-founder, one of them is called Ghostline. So can you talk a little bit about what Ghostline is and then the why behind Ghostline?
Yeah, so Ghostline is probably my newest venture. I mean, I put Ghostline together, finalized it about a month ago. So Ghostline is a platform that's designed for anonymized video conversation. So um, the I guess the idea started when I was having lunch with a friend of mine, and we were talking about podcasting. And I was like, yeah, there's podcasts that I've wanted to do where um, it could have been like an ex black hat wanted to come on and share their story, but they didn't even want me to know who they were. And so that caused a lot of technical challenges up front. Um, I could do it in post, but that's a lot of work too.
Yeah.
So I wanted to have something where basically I could spin up like Zoom, and anonymization for both visual and audio would be happening on the browser side of the guest before they even made the connection to the host. And so that was pretty much the driver and the main initiative behind it. And then as I started going, again, back to the evolution of ideas, it's like, okay, now let me think about how else this platform can be used. It could be used for whistleblowers.
Hmm.
It could be used for anonymous tip lines for law enforcement. Someone just doesn't want to be known or heard. They can call a tip line and have this conversation just like this. It doesn't need to be a voicemail. Um, Therapists, counselors,
Oh, that's a good one.
um, yeah, documentary filmmakers. I mean, there's so many reasons now where you can have this to a real time conversation and never know who the guest is.
It's
So,
almost the
um,
equivalent of the news channels when they're doing their investigative reporting. They got like the shadow and
yes,
yeah, but it's a digital version of that. So
it's the digital version. When the guest joins, they have a voice masking, which sounds like the anonymous voice. There's two levels of that you can select. You can select whether you want pixelation. You can select whether you want a silhouette or blur. So there's different different masking techniques that you could do. And then another plus is that the host can record it. So you can basically have this podcast. You can have this um, conversation now that you can put in your case document of a conversation that you've had and record it with transcripts, timestamps, things like that. Anything that you would typically expect from a different platform. So again, it's only a month in. It's still growing. What's important for me right now is to get users on the platform, right?
Okay.
I have an MVP. It's working. It's ghostline.digital is the URL. No accounts needed either. So you can truly be anonymous, no accounts. It's free. And I just want users on there now to test it, try it, get back to me, let me know if there are limitations. And that's where I'm at. And again, I think it's, I'm a big privacy advocate, and I think something like this would help in many use cases. And I think it could be helpful. So anyone out there that wants to give it a shot, ghostline.digital, let me know what you think. And please send me feedback.
So what we're going to do right now, I hate to put you on the spot like this, but I'm actually going to share, I'm going to pull up Ghostline for people. Hold on a second. I'm going to share my screen. So here we go. I just put in ghostline.digital. So folks, ghostline.digital. And
Hit that
so,
little dark button up top because then it makes the site look a lot cooler. To the right, there's like a little icon that looks like a moon.
yep, boom.
There
There we
you
go.
go. Now it just looks much cooler.
All right, so we have Ghostline privacy identified, FAQ about, conduct anonymous video interviews real time. So I'm not going to click anything because I don't want to ruin our recording. But folks, we're going to have this link in the description below. Check it out. I mean, if you value your privacy and anonymity, this right here, and it's free, right?
Free, 100%
Wonderful.
free. Yep. Yep.
Well, hey,
At one point, we may do like an enterprise version where maybe, a law firm wants to brand it as their own. We're far from that right now. Again, it's more important for me to get users and feedback to be able to tune this um, to where it needs to be.
well, I'll
So
start testing it myself, and I'll give you some feedback for myself on that. So, thank you
thank you, my
for
friend.
creating Ghostline, man. That's awesome to create a platform for privacy for folks. I really think that's amazing. Wow, and that's just a testament to the kind of guy Chris is. Always giving back to the community, not just with his content creation, but with something that's a useful service slash tool. Let's talk about another thing that you're the co-founder of that's got a really interesting name here, Cyber Circus Network.
Cyber Circus
So wait,
Network.
when they say "not my circus, not my monkeys," it's actually your circus.
We actually have a CCN Cyber Circus Network shirt that has that logo on it.
Oh,
Not
really?
my circus, not my monkeys. Yeah, we love that. So,
Awesome.
so I'm gonna give a shout out to the Cyber Circus Network real quick. Jason Papillon, Kevin Pentecost, Len No, and Justin Hutchins and myself. We are comprised and unite as the Cyber Circus Network. We all have individual podcasts. We're all content
Mhm.
creators.
Yeah,
Um,
Hutch is in the Houston area. He's been on my
yes,
podcast. Yeah, good guy.
yeah, Hutch is awesome, man. So Hutch and Len run the Cyber Cognition podcast. Jason and Kevin run the Cyber Distortion podcast, and I obviously run Barcode. So Cyber Circus Network is basically um, us as the core that do live events. So we'll do live podcasts. My latest documentary, I Am Machine, was a Cyber Circus Network production because Kevin had a hand in editing it. The others did a lot of more promotion. Len's obviously involved with it. So we do projects like that. I think we all operate on the same um, wavelength, and I think that's why
Gel.
we gel. Yeah, we
Yeah.
gel. And so we do an event every December in Grapevine, Texas, called the Lone Star Cyber Circus, where we get people from the DFW area out. We do a live podcast. We'll do a fun happy hour, right? So it's just something that we do and work on different projects together as time permits, right? We do maybe 4 or 5 events a year. We do one in Atlantic City, New Jersey as well. So we travel and do these events, and we're just going to grow it. Like we want to grow it into be really focused on podcasters, content creators, and yeah, that's sort of where we're at with Cyber Circus Network, and it's a cool name too. So
Yeah. Well, we'll have the socials and the links for the Cyber Circus Network and everything
Yeah.
else that we've talked about will be in the description below. So I'm gonna save you folks the Google search. So Lynn, this is I said Lynn, Chris. My brain just
Yes.
had so Chris, this is my favorite question for all my guests. So it's called my day one question. So if we can go back in time to day one when you made the decision that you wanted to learn about cyber IT and technology and so forth, what's the story there? And can you share it with us?
Yeah. I'll give you the really high level view because it's a long story, but I think so. I had my oldest son when I was very young. I was 20, and basically I was going through school at the time, um, and I had to drop out of school to take care of my son. I was young, and so I didn't really have a job at the time. I had a job, but it wasn't a good job, and
Hmm.
I happened to get a um, job offer for a local cable company um, doing IT work. I had zero IT experience in the business. I grew up with computers and technology, so it was always an interest of mine. So I kind of fell into the IT role because I needed a really good paying job, and it paid
Hmm.
really good at the time to support my family. And so I fell into that, worked at a cable company. They got acquired by Comcast, I think a year after that. This was late 90s.
Hmm.
And so you can imagine back then, very transformational time in technology where you had high speed internet just
Broadband.
dropping
Yeah.
at that time, broadband. You had high definition TV dropping around that same time, video on demand. So it was a really cool time for multimedia technology to see evolve. And so not only was it a really cool job, but it was like a very interesting time. I was like, man, I think I'm good. I'm good in this industry. Like, this is awesome. So stayed on the IT side for a while, did IT support um, for a long time um, until about 2012. 2012 was when I refocused my career trajectory on cyber. I had a
Hmm.
friend that I worked with who was running the pen test team for JP Morgan Chase here in Wilmington, and the things that he was showing me was just like I couldn't believe it. It was almost just like an illusionist showing me how an illusion is done
Hmm.
behind the scenes, and that type of thing was like, man, it didn't feel like IT to me. Like I'll be honest with you, it felt more like illusion. Like how do I do that? And so he ended up leaving Chase to go start the security team for a small bank, and he knew I was interested. And he's like, "Hey, man, just come join me. Come join me as like my first security analyst." And so I went from IT support into a security analyst role. Um, the next week, or a week after I had started that job with him, he sent me to Hacker Halted, and it was over. I think that was it. I think when I went to Hacker Halted 2012, I think this was, or no, I'm sorry, 2013. I think it was October 2013. A month into security, Hacker Halted, week-long boot camp to get my CEH. And once that week was over, I got to see not only I gained a cert, I gained the CEH, which was incredibly hard to pull off at that time with just having some IT experience.
Hmm.
And number two, more importantly, seeing the security community and how we operate. And I think, again, that I think was the pivoting point for me to say, this is not a job anymore. Like, I came home from that conference and I was up all night just researching shit that I heard there. Like, it
Hmm.
was that click happened for me then. And I think that was it for me. And it's never been reversed. I've always keep going forward. Now I'm still on the conference scene, and that's why I advocate for conferences so much, is because until you get connected with someone at a conference or get to see that type of community interaction, there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
so
why
that was it
like a
for me.
virtual events don't really do it. It's those conversations in person, face to face, And like you said, you hear things, you start Googling, and then when you're done with the conversation, like let me put that, or let me make a note for me to follow up on that later. There's so many great discussions and conversations to be had, and presentations and new ideas and perspectives. So yeah, conferences are
Yeah.
amazing. And folks, all you got to do is just open up your browser, just look up events in your area. Most of them are free. There are some that cost money, but there's so many free events or meetups or technology groups that just get together, even if it's just at a coffee shop, or sometimes they just book a table at a restaurant, or show up at a bar. So highly recommend just connecting with your community, because again, one thing I love about the cyber community is we're mostly friendly. We don't bite hard. So
And if you're afraid things are going to go over your head, they probably will. There's things that go over everybody's head.
yeah,
So don't go in there thinking that you're going to understand everything, but it's important for you to leave um, realizing that and taking in what you can, because over time you will get those things,
yeah,
but not, don't be intimidated is what I'm saying when you go into these conferences, because some of them can be intimidating.
yeah. But as Ted Lasso famously said, be curious.
Yes.
Be
Yes.
curious. So, along your journey, and I thank you for sharing your day one story. I know there's probably a lot more to that story, but thank you for sharing what you've had shared. But along your trajectory of your journey thus far, there's had to been people that have had a positive impact on you along the way. So the goal of this question is to shine a light. I know it's like that Oscars acceptance speech. You're not going to be able to name all the names, but the goal of this is to shine a light on a few people that have had a tremendous and positive impact on your journey so far. It could be coworkers, colleagues, managers, program managers, bosses, executives, or just people in the industry that you really admired. So yeah, is there anyone you'd like to shine a light on?
Mm, man, I wish I had a good answer, because there are so many. Um, I mean, I will say, Pete Yanchik is the one who basically was the one who brought me in for my first
Mhm.
security role. I think um, if he hadn't done that for me, not to say that I would not have landed in security, but he gave me my first shot, and he really gave me a lot of intel that I needed to have on a baseline level. I never went to school for cyber, so Pete, as well as many others that sort of put up with my very basic security questions in the beginning. Um, it could have been easy for them to just shut me down,
Yeah.
or not giving me the right answers, and not only the right answers from a technical standpoint, but just the right cultural answers in terms of what to expect, what to look out for, things like that. So I think people that were in that security industry within my first year were really instrumental, and then great leadership along the way. Great leaders from roles that I've worked in, and being able to provide guidance and being able to provide a path forward, not only what you're doing today, but finding out what I wanted to pursue tomorrow, right? And setting the path for me there, in terms of whether that was training, or whether that was shadowing, or finding me mentors. Um, and so I think those are the people that were very important to me. Um, and there's so many to mention that
Oh yeah.
it's hard for me to pinpoint one, but I think those are the type of people that really help shape me in my career.
Well, thank you for that. So now we're going to take a little break from the tech talk and cyber talk for a moment. This is my moment of levity on the podcast. So I'm going to hit you with some rapid fire questions. There's no right or wrong answer. So whatever first answer comes to you, just blurt it out, and we'll go from there. All right. So
Okay.
we're going to start off with a softball one. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
No, it's a hot
Okay.
dog.
Chris says a hot dog is not a sandwich. All right. Cake or pie? Staying with food.
Hi.
Pie. Hot. What kind of pie?
I'm gonna go peach pie.
Peach pie. Hot or cold peach pie?
Hot.
Hot peach
Hot
pie.
peach pie with a side of ice cream.
All right, well, this is going to divide your barcode podcast audience right here. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Oh, I gotta go Star Wars.
Star Wars,
I got
which
Star
set of the
Wars.
trilogy is your favorite?
I think the OG, man, the original,
OG.
episode 3 through 6, because that's what I grew up on.
All right, so of that trilogy, what is your favorite character?
Oh, um, I'm gonna give you an unexpected answer, and I'm just gonna say Stormtrooper. I
Stormtrooper.
like the Stormtrooper, man. Yeah,
Okay, hey, listen,
Stormtroopers are
that is an
cool.
answer. What has been your most favorite book of all time that you've read, and what was the last book that you've read?
I think so. I'm not a reader. I will.
Okay.
I will preface my answer with that. For me to read a book, page to page, a physical book,
Hmm.
is very difficult. Always has been. I'm not going to blame my increasingly busy schedule, but it's always just been um, tough for me to keep my attention. I think
Yeah.
it's more of an attention span type thing. So I do some audiobooks, but I was just given a book about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. I do have the paperback and I also have the
Okay.
audiobook. Um, it's the most recent book I've read through, and it's probably one of my favorites of all time.
Okay.
And it is Human Hacked
By the
by
man,
Len
the myth,
No.
the legend.
This is why I created the documentary. It's a very compelling story. This book goes into a lot of what I did not cover in the documentary. Um, Everybody that I recommend this book to, whether you're in security or not, it will leave a lasting impact on you. So go get it. Go pick up this book or the audio version. Um, Let me know what you think. It's a very impactful book. It will hit you on many different levels, and so yeah, that's an easy pick for me.
Well, we'll have the link to it on Amazon and everywhere else it's sold in the description below. So, folks, I'm saving you to Google search. So, Chris, getting back into our agenda questions, a lot of us are busy in our day jobs. And I know you're tremendously busy with all the hats that you wear and the things that you do. But a lot of us do find time for nonprofits, volunteer, charity, and organizations that are doing tremendous work in the world. So, the goal of this question is there an organization that's doing tremendous positive work in the world that you want to shine a light on? For me, the one that I always contribute to every year is St. Jude's Cancer Research Hospital, because I really believe in the work they're doing for cancer and children. There's a couple other literacy charities, but whether you give of your time, your money, or your energy, again, the goal of the question is to shine a light on organizations doing some good out there. So, is there such an organization you'd like to tell us about?
Yeah, I would just shout out Special Olympics. My oldest son has been involved with Special Olympics since he was a kid. I volunteer when I can. And so yeah, that would be the one that I would say.
Awesome, and we'll have a link for them in the description below. So if what is coming up in your 2026? What are some of the big events? What are some of the big milestones and things you're looking forward to in 2026? What can we, once we, folks will have the links for his socials as well as his LinkedIn so you can follow everything Chris is doing. But Chris, what is on the what's on the roadmap?
So 2026, we are just at the beginning of March. Tomorrow, I'm actually flying to Orlando to do some media coverage for Zero Trust World, which is Threat Locker's annual conference in Orlando. So looking forward to that. Finally get to escape this cold for a week. So I'll be down there doing that. And then after that, I will be at Hack Space Con. I'm presenting Mind Game, which I mentioned earlier. I'm doing that talk at Hack Space Con, which is at Kennedy Space Center in May. That will be another good one. I will be at Secure World Philly um, in May. And then beyond that, I don't believe I have any conferences planned other than Hacker Summer Camp.
Okay.
You can count on me being at Black Hat and DEF CON every year. I do a really, really cool party slash happy hour at a bar that I found a few years ago called Barcode. So it's Barcode at Barcode. This will be our
Okay.
fourth one this year during Hacker Summer Camp. So if you're interested in attending that, let me know. We typically do a limo bus to the event because it's right off the strip. We had a
Mhm.
DJ. We had DJ Syntax. Shout out DJ Syntax last year. So it's a fun event. So we'll be there. And then that's all I have planned so far, man.
Awesome.
Besides Philly in December, I know I'll be there. But if you go to my personal site, it's where I keep all of my upcoming events. So I have barcodesecurity.com, which is the barcode site, and then I have my personal site, which is profit.com, and it's PR0PH-1T.com. You got to use the
The hyphen.
the hacker type, yeah, the hacker type to get that in. But I'll have all of my events that I'm going to, and I try to keep that updated.
And we'll have that link in the description so you don't have to worry about did you get the syntax right on typing that out. We're going to save you all that hassle, folks. Chris, it's been wonderful having you on the podcast. This question was not on the agenda questions, and all my guests get this, so it's going to catch you a little bit flat-footed. But all
All
my
right.
guests, what I give them the final word, and in the final word, you don't have to talk cyber IT. You can if you want to. You can talk about your favorite ice cream flavor, favorite food cuisine. You just talk about how your day was. Whatever you like to talk about, the final word is yours.
My final word is what I typically end my talks with, and it is focused on and I think we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, but just taking that first step, in not only what you want to do career wise, but I just got into public speaking about 2 years ago. I ran a podcast, which is extremely different than public speaking.
Yes.
You have people in front of you when you do public speaking, and it's something that I was always hesitant to do, and I think I kind of I ran toward that fear because um, personally, it's just something that I wanted to talk. It was um, again very intimidating. But now I'm trying to do 5 to 6 talks a year. I'm nowhere where you are, Jim, but it's people like you that get to have these conversations with me one on one, and let me know it's going to be okay. Take that first step. So I try to pay that forward when I have my talks. And so my last word would be, don't hesitate. Take that first step. Reach out to those within industry that have done it before, whether it's public speaking, whether it's starting your own company, whether it's starting a podcast. We're here to help, and we'll help you take that first step. So that would be my last word.
Well, Chris, well said. Thank you so much for being on the Top Cyber Pro podcast.
Thank you, buddy. Take care.